Ready for the fight. No more hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Rock on, Detroit Lions will rise. With a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the hall of the brave, we'll proudly have grown.
Adam Shepard at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.
All right, good morning. It's Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a game in just 2 more days. Your Detroit Lions are going to be taking on the Chicago Bears. And are you ready? I mean, that's the biggest question. Are you ready? Do you think you're ready? Or are you really ready? This is going to be the game of the year, man. I don't care what else is on the schedule. This is the game of the year. It should have been the game of the week, and it should have been on prime time. Like, this is, well, maybe they didn't want to see Ben Johnson just completely get emaciated on live TV, on national TV. But it's going to happen. The Detroit Lions are going to figure it out. They're going to put everything back together again. Humpty Dumpty might have fell off the wall, man, but we've got some E6000 and some crazy glue going on over here. We're going to put it back together. Eventually, it'll be back. Lions working hard on getting this offensive line communication back to where it used to be. And look, I think it's that simple, man. You just got to get the communication back, and these guys should be fine. These are NFL, pro athletes for a reason. They've played well all season long so far, up until the first game of the year. And look, we have to give Green Bay their credit. You have to. That is a for real football team up there. They are for real, not messing around. Green Bay is a good football team. I know that I just threw up in my mouth a couple of times saying those words. They're a good football team. And there's nothing that we can do about it except try to match their energy and get better. So I don't know what happened with NFL Pro, but I was going to go through a whole bunch of stuff this morning that, I don't screenshot. I don't write it down. I just expect for it to be there that I can look at and use to help key me in on some things. All the stats from last week are gone. I don't know what happened, but they're gone. And it says now that we have to wait until this next game is over. I think someone screwed up internally because they usually don't erase the previous week's stats. But there is one thing that I wanted to bring up because there was someone that kept saying in the chat that Parsons played, like the entire first half last week, and Parsons was, Parsons was a large reason why I was going to sneeze, man. Parsons was a large reason why the Lions lost, and he's not. He's really not. Now, he played a pretty good game last night, but he wasn't the reason why the Lions lost that game. And here's why. I can tell you definitively, he played one snap in the first quarter, and then he played a total of 28 snaps in the final three quarters, of which 24 of those happened in quarters 3 and 4. That's where Parsons was the difference, is they put him on the field in the last half. He didn't do anything to really win this game. The game was already won in the first half for the Packers. It was over. They had already put up their points. We weren't going to come close in that game. I think they scored, one touchdown in the second half? Something like that. I could look it up real quick. Oh, maybe not. No, I can look that up. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make here is he wasn't the only reason why the Lions failed in the opening week. The Lions are the reason why they failed in the opening week. I listened to a lot of people talk about Jared Goff this week, and I heard something this morning talking about, some top 5 guys. I think it was 97 won the ticket, about the top 5 guys under pressure to perform this week. And Jared Goff didn't make the list, and nor should he. Nor should he make the list. But one of the things that they said this morning was how Jared Goff did exactly what he was supposed to do. If it's not open, you don't expect him to throw it into double coverage or triple coverage or in any blanket coverage and take a risk. Like you don't want him to do that. Now, when the game's on the line, it's the fourth quarter and you're trying to push it downfield and you're trying to win a close matchup, yeah, he's going to take some risk. But beyond that, you don't really want Jared Goff taking risks, putting your guys in a situation where they're just going to get crushed, right? You don't want to put them in a situation where they're coming across the field and they just get laid out. You need these guys healthy. More importantly, you don't want to take an unnecessary risk just to give up the football and cause a turnover. Jared Goff did exactly what he needed to do in this game. Unfortunately, nothing was open. Nothing was working. And the offensive line was a big reason for that. It's not a secret. It wasn't Marcus Davenport, right? It was Aiden Hutchinson, honestly. Deserved more pressure on him this week. Does Davenport need to play better? Absolutely. But he at least entered the stat sheet in a good way. He at least produced when he had an opportunity to produce. And again, I would just question and stress the point, we don't know the details that are called from play to play. We can only see what they're doing on the play and kind of take an educated guess as to what maybe they were asked to do by the way that they perform. I did find some new stats, which I'm not sure on them yet because I have not gone through. I didn't go through with a fine-tooth comb to look at every Aiden Hutchinson snap. I'm going to try to do that today because tomorrow morning when we do the final pregame show, I do want to bring that energy tomorrow and talk about that. But there was some interesting stats nonetheless that looked at the entire league as a whole, and it gave me a spreadsheet so I could track all of these things from week to week. Aiden Hutchinson. Now, let me start with Al-Qadim Muhammad. He only had 4 pass rush snaps versus the Packers last week, of which he was chipped 0 times and he was double teamed twice. So he was double teamed on 50% of his snaps. So I'm using him as an example first because somebody as Al-Qadim Muhammad that only played in a handful of snaps got double teamed 50% of his pass rush snaps. All right. Let's move on to Davenport. Marcus Davenport had 13 pass rush snaps. So he had 13 attempts at the quarterback, of which he was chipped twice and double teamed 3 times. So that means out of 13 plays, almost what, 42%, I think, if my math is working, that he had extra pressure on him, right? He was draped by another offensive lineman or you know, a running back or a tight end or, you know, another receiver, somebody chipping him, or another offensive lineman doubling him up. Now, I do want to make sure that we understand what the difference is between a double team and a chip. Okay? And I'm going to do this with the help of AI this morning. I'm going to let AI explain it, so that way you don't have to believe in what I say. We'll just ask Mr. Jeff. That's what I call him, Jeff. And we'll see what Jeff does this morning. So Jeff, tell me what a double team is on a DT. Versus a chip. There you go. We'll let it do its thing. Jay-Z says, I call him Skynet. I pay for this service, man. I have like 3,000 AI tools that I can use, and I haven't even gotten past 3 of them. Like 3,000 is a bit much. All right, a double team is when 2 offensive linemen, in case you didn't know, engage a single defender, usually a defensive tackle, to overpower him at the point of attack. It's common in both run and pass protection. Key traits: 2 blockers, often a center and a guard, or a guard and a tackle, work in tandem. One aims high, chest and shoulders. The other aims low, down to the hips and the thighs. The goal is to neutralize penetration. Control the line, climb to the second level, and get to those linebackers if possible. Often used against interior defenders who are strong, disruptive, or playing in a 1-tech or 3-tech alignment, or often on the outside against your defensive ends. A chip block is a quick surprise hit, usually by a running back or a tight end on a pass rusher, typically a defensive end, but sometimes a defensive tackle if aligned out wide. Key traits is that the chipper delivers a brief strike before releasing into a route. It's not a full block. It's just enough to disrupt some timing or gain some leverage. Helps the primary blocker, usually a tackle on the outside, get better positioning. Common in pass pro, especially against elite edge rushers. So there is your definition from Jeff. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because we hear far too often, Aiden is doubled on 100% of his plays, yada, 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 right? Wrong. He's not. And he's barely doubled on 50%. Right? What people mistake is a chip for a double team. And Aiden should be able to beat his one-on-ones. He's the number 2 overall pick. He's an elite. Well, many people think he's an elite defensive end. He should be able to beat his one-on-ones. Hands down. Do we agree on that? There's no reason why he shouldn't be able to beat his one-on-ones. It's very difficult for anybody to beat a double team. There are very few football players in the NFL today that can handle a double team. Namely, Myles Garrett does it, and he does it just about every time. Bosa, he does it. He usually handles it. The difference is how you approach a double team, or if you know you're going to get double teamed, or if you feel it coming, how do you approach it? And what I saw just last night in the game is, guys going through the middle, just trying to knife right between, just launching yourself right between the guard and the tackle, or the guard and the center. Just forcing your way in between, right? And then getting your hands into the backfield, your arms outstretching long. Like, that's one way to help defeat, because you've now separated the two guys that are trying to double team you. And so the next guy, but to the next right or left of you, crashes in. Well, the guy, is not going to hold you. The guard's not going to hold you, or the center's not going to hold you. They're not supposed to. So you've got to get in between these guys. You can't go through them all the time. You either got to get around them or you've got to get in the middle of them. I want to see Aiden make some more of those plays. But I want to see Aiden win his one-on-ones, and he has to this weekend. Aiden, here's his stats for the weekend. 19 pass rush attempts, out of which he was chipped 5 times, doubled 11 times. So according to these stats, which are not verified by my eye, watching every single pass rush snap, 57.89% of the time he was double teamed, 26.32% of the time he was chipped, which would have left him with what? At least 5 or 6 opportunities to get to the quarterback? At least. And he didn't get to the quarterback once. So that is a problem. And so I do believe that Aiden has some pressure on him. A lot of you said pay the man. Pay the man. $50 million, pay the man. Pay the man. What do you say now? Should you pay the man yet? I don't think so. I think we need to see him do some things before the Lions sink that kind of money into him. On the other side of the football, though, Rashawn Gary, he was chipped 9 times. He was doubled 8. That was only 25% of plays. And 29% of plays for the chip. Probably wasn't enough. Maybe it was a poor plan by the Detroit Lions not to double up certain guys. Let's see if I can find the rest of the Packers in here. What I am going to do tomorrow is I am going to break this down a little bit further. I am going to watch some of the tape. I'm going to go back and watch some of the tape from last night's game. Or I'm sorry, from the Bears game. And I'm going to look and see how many times the Bears were chipped and doubled and how many times they won, right? And then I'm going to cross that with the Lions offense. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the Lions defense. So I'm not going to get deep off into that this morning. But I just wanted to let you know we do have some stats now that are helping us with some of this stuff. Last couple of seasons, I kind of had to go in and find my own. I haven't seen the pass rush win stats yet. Let me see if they're up. That'll help lend a little credibility to this too. But again, you've got to do it with your own eye. You really do. I don't trust everything that I see. And you shouldn't either. You got to watch the tape. Pass rush win stats. Where are they? Okay. I guess I don't have it on my quick sheet today. It's on the other sheet. Anyway, I wanted to open up with that because this weekend I'm expecting this Lions offensive line to do something drastically different that they didn't do in the opening game. They're going to have to control the edge. They cannot allow Jared Goff to get pressure up the middle. How can they do both effectively? Clearly, Jared can get the ball out quick, but getting it out quick 3, 4, 5 yards down field that's not helping the situation. Be interesting to hear how John Morton has a plan. And that's what we're going to go to next, is we're going to go to John Morton and his plan. Have a little bit of movie day today.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
All right, let's get into John Morton this morning.
Start off, the last game. The best thing about that is it's the first game of the season. Nobody's in panic mode. You know what I mean? So The players have been awesome, great attitudes. We had great preparation, just like we did last week. The bottom line is just about execution and the details of everything, and then taking some, a little bit less, so guys are playing a little bit faster, so everybody knows exactly what to do. But I'm encouraged. There were some encouraging things in the game, obviously, and then we move on. That's what we've done. Great attitude by the guys. How do we fix this? Because we're in the fix-it business as coaches. So Dan's been awesome. Players have been awesome. We had a good practice yesterday, and we're moving on to Chicago.
Players.
Go ahead.
Explain some of the roots of maybe some of the communication problems you guys were having up front. Just how, the blocking schemes maybe weren't getting relayed or plays weren't getting relayed properly.
I'm not going to go into all of that, but it's being addressed. It's being fixed. Again, taking some of these plays out where there's not a lot of communication. Going on the road, we didn't do a lot of shifting and things like that. So it's going to be fixed.
Is it just due to youth, or how much of it was due to youth in your eyes, and how much?
No, it wasn't youth. Because there were some veteran guys that, weren't making the right calls and everything. So it's addressed. It's going to be fixed.
On the attention to detail, you mentioned maybe simplifying things. Is there anything else that you can do to kind of help the attention to detail?
Listen, and when I say that, it wasn't every play. It's look, we're running plays that these guys have done. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's some new guys in there, but the bottom line is you got to go execute. And we didn't do that every single play. We just didn't. And we got behind the 8 ball sometimes. And then, you adjust, just like we did, the second half. We came out, we started throwing a little bit and opening it up, and we started moving the ball. We got to do a better job, obviously, on third down there. Because we were manageable on third down, and we did a good job on fourth down. But we got to go down there, do a better job in the red zone.
All right. I think I do want to rewind this for a brief moment, because he said some things. Well, one, he doesn't want to answer some questions about a few things, which I get. Okay, I understand. However, he said something that did not make sense to me. So I want to rewind it for just a moment. And I want to go back to, he was being asked a question, and he said something about putting plays in that don't have any communication. That part I didn't understand, so I want to hear it one more time.
Taking some of these plays out where there's not a lot of communication. Going on the road, we didn't do a lot of shifting and things like that. So it's going to be fixed.
Is it just due to youth, or how much of it was due to youth in your eyes, and how much?
No, it wasn't youth. Because there were some veteran guys that, weren't making the right calls and everything. So it's addressed. It's going to be fixed.
On the attention to detail, you mentioned maybe simplifying things. Is there anything else that you can do to kind of help the attention to detail?
Okay. All right. So on this, now I'm not an offensive line guru by any means, but obviously there are plays where apparently there's not a whole lot of communication. I don't really know what he's saying by this. I don't really understand, like, why is there not communication? Like, don't you know where your protections are going to be and where you're going to slide to? And I mean, I need someone to get in and explain this a little bit more as to what the hell is he saying. But they apparently took those plays out, and he said even the veteran guys, were making some mistakes too, which, I mean, there's 3 guys there, right? So we know what the veteran guys are. If he took those plays out, and now we're going back to the bread and butter, well, you probably should have done that from the beginning, John. You probably shouldn't have gone on the road having plays without communication. That was the first mistake. So this all boils back down to preparation of week 1. And this game probably could have went a whole lot better had you just stuck to the bread and butter, man. And like Dan says, you get into the meat and potatoes of it all, whatever. It's It's doing what works, right? Stick to what works. Use the strengths of your team. You better not screw that up in week 2. Like you have to use what works. Just we have supreme athletes here in Detroit. We've got guys that can beat anybody. You have to let those guys win, right? It's you're cutting all their legs, off, and then not allowing them to run downfield or do anything or execute at any level, let alone a high level. If you're not even putting them in a position to win, that's a little bit alarming. We'll keep rolling here.
Listen, and when I say that, it wasn't every play. It's look, we're running plays that these guys have done. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's some new guys in there, but the bottom line is you got to go execute. And we didn't do that every single play. We just didn't. And we got behind the 8 ball sometimes. And then, you adjust, just like we did, the second half. We came out, we started throwing a little bit and opening up, and we started moving the ball. We got to do a better job, obviously, on third down there. Because we were manageable on third down. And did a good job on fourth down. But we got to go down there, do a better job in the red zone. And that's part of my job. So that's been addressed.
Specifically with the ground game, John.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything here centers around that.
No doubt.
2.2 yards a carry is not
No way.
where you want to be. So, when you say it's correctable, why is your confidence level rooted, or where is it rooted in getting those guys right?
Yeah, because we're doing plays that they've done. Now, there's some young guys, right? So we just got to make sure we give them the right looks, all the different type of right looks, and to make sure they know exactly what they're doing. And that's what we've done. We did an extra period in the runs this week, and I think it's going to help. And go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So I think that's what you got to do. It's an easy fix. Again, they're not in panic mode, all right? But 2.1, that ain't going to cut it. It should never happen. So against that defense, too, especially with the lead.
Apologize about that, John. What jump?
Okay. The last thing he said there, was he throwing a shot, or was he trying to give Green Bay credit? I think he was trying to give Green Bay credit that they had a really good defense. So, against this defense, you have to execute at a high level. And so one of my big questions for you all this morning, definitely would love to know in the comments below and in the chat right now, do you believe that John Morton has it fixed? Do you believe that it's just this easy to fix a game plan from week to week, and everything that went wrong last week, that they're going to be able to get it fixed? I would love to know right now in the comments below and in the chat right now what you believe. Did John Morton address it this week? Clearly, he said we have to be more efficient in the third down, or in the red zone, excuse me. And that's key, right? That is a big part of his job. That is his job. It's his only damn job, right? You need to make sure that these guys are knowing where to be, when to be, and how to be in the red zone so that we can be in the end zone. More importantly, you can't have 2.1 yards of rushing with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. It shouldn't exist. I don't even care if you have the 15th best offensive line in the league. You should still be able to put up 100 yards rushing with these guys. Right? Now it belongs on the shoulders of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. They have to go out and make plays. And what I hope doesn't happen, and I honestly don't think it will, is that if you are accustomed to having a really good offensive line in front of you and the holes are just there, do you think that these guys maybe get a little bit lazy into saying or thinking that, oh, I know the hole's going to be there, I just got to hit it and run, as opposed to, man, I've got to be fleet of foot here and I've got to make some moves and I've got to be on my P's and Q's to make sure that I'm making plays happen. Now, I'm not saying anything negative about Gibbs or Montgomery. I'm just wondering, like, how does your body chemistry, the muscle memory that we speak a lot of here, how does that work in this situation when you're used to having a hole that you can drive a Mack truck through, to now maybe you can get a little what was that car called? A Yugo. You get yourself a little Yugo now that you can drive through there. Now you need to make some plays, man. You got to push some people over. You got to take it on, man. Mano y mano. So I hope that there's not any laziness from that perspective. I wouldn't expect it. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is far too talented of a running back to expect anything less than his best. And the same for David Montgomery. I think that we all know who David Montgomery is, man. He'll make plays. So, big questions. Do you think that John Morton's really going to have it all fixed? Number one. Number two, do you think that these guys tend to get a little bit lazy after having 2 seasons of being able to do whatever you wanted to do on an offensive line? Let's keep going.
Out on Chicago's tape, when you put it on, the first thing you were like, oh boy, that's something that we have to prepare for.
Well, I know Dennis Allen. I've worked with him before a few times. So nothing I haven't seen. They had some injuries. They had some key guys that were out. So they'll be different. I mean, listen, we're preparing for everything. I know the way he is. Dan knows the way he is. Dan, obviously worked with him.
Hold the phone here. Hold on. I got to pause it real quick. Sorry. You don't want to come off that way, do we, Morton? Because now if things don't go well, I'm going to go right back to this clip where you said, I know, I've seen it. I know what it's all about. It's nothing new to me. Dan knows him. Dan's played, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just called your shot. Like, there's nothing that you're going to see from Dennis Allen that's going to be too much. You got it handled. I hope you're right, because this is what's going to get played over and over and over again in the national media. That shot right there. Now, it's not a shot. Like, I don't think he's calling Dennis Allen out or anything, but what he's saying is he knows the scheme. He knows what he's going to throw at him. He knows it all. He's seen it all. I don't know that I would do that. And I hope he's right. Trust me. I want to win. I'm going to be there. Of course I want to win. I hate losing too. But I don't know that I would be that confident. I love confidence, but I don't know that I'd be that confident.
They got some good players. They're a good defense. And Dennis Allen does a great job. He does an awesome job. He gets after it. Blitz package-wise, especially on third down. They're all disciplined. I know that. They hustle. So the bottom line is, just for us, we just got to go execute. That's all I'm worried about is our guys right now, and that's we put the emphasis on it the last few days, and it'll continue all the way. And then if they don't like something, we take it out. It's easy. So.
Dan had where do you see issues pop up in the red zone against the Packers?
And the Packers?
Yep.
Can we move on from that game? Yeah, let's move on.
Dan had a really good explanation for why Isaac didn't see more.
I totally missed that the other day. Hold on. Was that our favorite media member? Hold on.
And it'll continue all the way. And then if they don't like something, we take it out. It's easy. So.
Dan had where do you see issues pop up in the red zone against the Packers?
And the Packers?
Yep.
Can we move on from that game? Yeah, let's move on.
Dan had a really good explanation for why Isaac didn't see.
Oh my God. I'm crying over here. When was this? Yesterday? I'm literally crying. It's Thursday. And you're still talking about the Packers. Like, Wednesday comes, it's a new day, man. It's a new game. Like, Wednesday, you've got to be focused on the new team. Now, unfortunately for me, having to fill 2 hours every day, I've got to talk about everything. We kind of go back and forth a little bit. Last night we went deep into the Bears a little bit on all the keys and some of the plays that I felt the Lions could execute at a high level. Obviously, this morning, we want to cover a little bit about what these guys are talking about, in the media, sessions yesterday and just kind of break it down a little bit. But, man, at some point, you have to learn to burn the tape and move forward. Like, you just can't get stuck and focus to drive a narrative about one game. That game is burned and done. It's over. They don't want to talk about it no more. They want to move forward. Now, if the same egg gets laid this weekend, well, then you have something to talk about on Monday. Hey, we saw the same things in the Green Bay game that we saw in the Packers game. I thought you had it fixed. Then you have something to talk about, right? And you can pose the question that way. But, man, on a Thursday, you got to be talking about the Bears, baby. That's what it's all about, especially if you're in that damn room.
See more snaps just being ill and only being there for third down day. That makes perfect sense. But what is your confidence level in just his full understanding of the offense? He's obviously a rookie coming into a big system. Where do you feel like he's at that point?
I think his catching ability is big time. I've said that before. But he's smart and he's tough. He didn't have a lot of plays in the game, but he came in and that was an unbelievable catch. So his role will be expanded. He will help us.
You feel good about where he's at, though, in terms of the knowledge of the whole system?
I do, because he's here the whole week. He was listening in last week. He only had 1 day, so he's going to be ready to go.
You mentioned being encouraged by some things. What's your biggest encouragement about what you guys have done?
Well, I thought Jared played pretty well. Going into that game, and I told the offense this, it's a patience game against that type of defense. And I told you guys that before. The stat sheet should say almost 80%, which he was, and 7-8 players catching balls. It was a dink and dunk type of game. It's hard to get explosive plays on that type of defense. So, if the run game ain't going, then it's going to be one of those. And we got 4 explosive plays, because we started seeing a little bit different looks. So we have to take what the defense gives us, just like any other game. But that I thought that was encouraging. The way we caught the ball and got upfield, I like that. Gibby was involved. There was a lot of checkdowns, just like I said. That's just the way that game goes. But I was encouraged by that. His focus, everybody's focus, especially the veteran guys, it was awesome. No panic mode. Okay, and that's what I love. We competed all the way to the end. Even though, we weren't in it, but they competed all the way in. We went down and scored. That's encouraging. That's what a good team should do.
And similar to my question about Isaac, we don't know what Decker's status is. If you want to give an injury report, great. But
that's the head coach's responsibility.
Sure. If there's a chance Decker doesn't go, what is your comfort level in Gio and what he showed in terms of growth through camp if you need him on Sunday?
The good thing is, when Decker was out there, he got a lot of reps. So that's beneficial for him. So, there's things that we know we have to do to help. But listen, he did a really good job. And we'll be aware of that if that happens. But we're totally expecting Decker to play.
Okay. Is Gio, would he be next in line? You did sign a vet too, so a little more experience.
I would think so. You got to ask Dan that.
So, John, what's the message to a player? What's the message to a player like Tate Ratledge, who obviously is hard on himself, wants to have a good debut, but just didn't?
Yeah, you just take it game by game. So you learn from you learn from what you did in the game. All right, and you just move on. Okay, so it's correctable, and you just stay on top of it. The more he plays, the better he's going to get. We really got 2 rookie guards, and I'm not worried about him because I liked what I saw in training camp. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's going to be a problem with him.
With Isaac, have you seen St. Brown kind of take him under his wing at all, and just have you seen that relationship blossom a little bit?
I think St. Brown's unbelievable. He's the captain. He makes this thing go. With Jared, those guys are just and Panay. Those 3 guys, their attitude just uplifts everybody. And every day they bring it. And it's just so awesome to see those guys. And I mentioned to you before, it's like Anquan Bolden. It's the same type of guy, man. What do we got to do? You know, how do we do this? Okay, and he's helping everybody. You know, Saint's grown over the last few years since the last time I was here. He's a captain, and he should help everybody. And it's all about what do we got to do to win. That's what we're all about. Whatever it takes. No egos here ever. And whatever it takes, man. Let's do it.
How confident are you that you were faced with a similar kind of defensive structure that, you know, Green Bay put, that you guys can execute your game plan and move it down the field and score?
I'm very confident. I mean, we went against our defense. It's the same defense that we're going against in Chicago. It's the same type of defense. So, no, because we have great players. We have great players. So
All right. That's where I'm going to cut it. So I do want to recap this just a little bit at the end. The Dennis Allen defense is a mirror to the Detroit Lions, and that is a big key to this game. Dennis Allen obviously being with the Saints, with Dan Campbell with the Saints, and other stops that John Morton's been around him. It is a big key to the game. So I think, back what I was saying, John Morton calling a shot, saying, hey, there's nothing that I haven't seen here. I've seen it all. And he's confident that they can do some good things against this defense, and they should. I think the only worry for me would be the fact that Ben Johnson knows the weaknesses of each and every one of these offensive players. And he knows them at a much higher level than I think what John Morton does right now, because he was with this team since day one of Dan Campbell. And so he knows what these guys can do at a high level, and he knows what they can't. That's where the defense is going to be focused. If it were me, and now look, I'm nowhere near these guys, right? But if it were me, if I were looking at putting together a game plan for the week, that's what I would focus on. What are our deficiencies? What are the weaknesses? What do we not do well? Because that defense is going to focus and key in on exactly that. So you're gonna run the defense focused on the things that you don't do well. And you might want to practice a few of the things, right, that you don't do well. Maybe practice them a little bit more. But it's to give yourself an idea with the defense of how they're going to key in on those things. And then you figure out how to overcome, right? Overcome and adapt. Packers are for real. I said it last night. I said it this morning to you guys, and I'm saying it again right now. They are for real. But there is something last night that Mike P said in our mods chat that is exactly what I'm asking the Detroit Lions to do. And Mike P, if you don't mind, I'd like to share some of that this morning, because it's exactly what I've been asking the Lions to do, which is a little bit of a delayed blitz package. It was shutting down Washington completely. And they go look at the stats from the Lions and Washington, and they're so similar. So similar. It's not even funny. The delayed blitz opportunity for this defense, for the Lions defense, means you're not just crashing in all the time. You're not just sending your ends all the time. Do you know how they're going to be able to win against the Bears? I'm telling you, it's through the interior of this defensive line. The Bears offense collapsed through the interior of the defensive line. So you send the interior, you tell your edge guys to contain a little bit, and then if you need to send a little bit of a delayed blitz from the outside linebacker or the nickel back, it'll be open. It'll 100% be there. And Caleb Williams, dude, is not going to be ready for it. He's just not. He can't handle the interior pressure. And when you get him out on the outside, you can't be chasing him from the inside out. You have to chase him from the outside in. That's why you blitz from the outside. Use your outside linebacker, use your nickel back, use your safety. That's how you blitz them. And no, that doesn't mean you're putting, Davenport and Aiden into coverage. No, it means you roll more of a dime look, a big dime look. You put some guys in there like Avonte Maddox who can play the big dime line or the small dime linebacker that can also run around the cover guys. So the delayed blitz is huge. And I think it's going to work great if the Lions actually execute it. Looking at the score last night, Green Bay scores 27 back-to-back weeks. They are a beatable team. 100%. They are a beatable team. But what they did well last night, go back and look. Hell, you can go back and listen to what I said about Washington's offense last year. How you don't blitz the RPO. You don't. The delayed blitz is totally different, right? You're not just all out going at Jaden Daniels. What the Packers did well last night, and what I want to see the Lions do against a guy like Caleb Williams, well, they figured out right away that Caleb loves to go to his right. Right? Why? Because he has a higher probability of throwing the football over the top, getting some good yards. He hates going to his left. What did that defense do last night? They were sending everybody over to the left. So when he starts to break and run, next thing you know, you see a couple linebackers and everybody kind of shift, but they don't crash in. They just shifted laterally, right? And Caleb's he's looking, I can't run anywhere. So then he starts going to the other way. And when he goes the other way, there's a guy right there in his face. So the delayed blitz, I think the Lions need to execute it at a high level. And then the second thing is you spy Caleb Williams, right? But you don't need to crash in on him all the time. You just have to keep everything in front. I'd rather let them get 3-4 yards all the time than you crashing in and giving up 13 yards. The big difference of the game. Give them the 3s and the 4s and the 5 yards. Do that. And then hopefully you're able to get a sack here or there. Right? Or you're able to get them behind the line of scrimmage. You're able to shut down DeAndre Swift. Containing is way more important in this game going up against a mobile quarterback than blitzing. Unfortunately, the Detroit Lions defense has already proven from week 1 that Calvin Shepard is more aggressive than Aaron Glenn. He blitzed on I think it was 48.7% of the plays. That's a ton. It's too much. It's way too much, especially against any RPO style of an offense or any sort of a mobile threat out of a quarterback. You can't blitz that much. I get it. He thinks that we have the athletes to do it, and we do. We have some really good football players. But if there's something that we're not able to do right now, we have not executed yet. We didn't execute a good game plan or a bad game plan. Last week we didn't execute anything. It looked bad, and you left the DBs kind of hung out to dry. So I want to see them play smart football, man. It doesn't have to be in the beginning of the year. It doesn't have to be, this all out onslaught of blitzing and sacks, and it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, clearly you see that hasn't worked yet. It didn't work last year. It's not going to work this year. Not yet. These guys need to get a couple of games underneath them to build up their confidence. And the other thing that I noticed too about the Lions in the last game, which I'm hoping some of this disappears this week, was urgency. Like I didn't see. Again, go back to watch last night. Look at how the Packers, every play, they're playing with urgency. They're playing with fire underneath their feet. They're just launching in between guys on that defensive line. Our guys didn't seem to really just go. No big, jump off the line. It was just kind of snap, go, as opposed to snap, punch them in the mouth. You know what I mean? You got to get up in those dudes. I didn't see enough of that. I didn't see enough. And I hope we see a lot more this weekend. Speed, speed, speed. I love it. Nick P says, Trace, just talking speed. Packers defense is flying around. They are, man. Flying. Wherever they go, it's in a hurry. And our defense used to play like that. And they can play like that. And they will play like that. But there is too many unknowns, going into the first week, and I feel like they just, I feel like they let a lot of opportunities slip by, 100%. Let's see what you guys are talking about in here. Oh, U of M Dad, he launched out a couple of gift memberships this morning. Looks like Easy E received the membership. Good morning, Easy E. You are now a member of the Detroit Lions faithful. And big shout out to U of M Dad for making that happen. I'm loving it. I'm gonna have to dial up me an old Easy E song now, like at least the first 3 seconds. I'm gonna have to do that today. I better write that down, or I'll forget. Better write that down, man. My old memory will not remember. Well, we got this giant whiteboard. Okay. John Morton. I hope you get things corrected this week. Taylor Decker. I'm going to move on to him for just a moment. Taylor Decker's going to have a rough season. At least for right now, I'm a little bit concerned. He had off-season shoulder surgery. And in game 1, that shoulder's already banged up. At least that's the speculation and the concern. It's not going to go away. If it's a labrum tear, I mean, it's not going away. There's no rehab that he's going to be able to do in a week's time that's going to make it better. So if he does have another labrum tear in that shoulder, or if he's got, some AC joint soreness or something, which I tend to get a lot of arthritis in my shoulders, it's not easy. It's not easy to deal with.
That's why I'm
So I'm hopeful that the Lions have a plan. I guess I'd probably start looking outside to bring somebody in, or at least, hey, start entertaining the opportunity of bringing someone in if you need to. We'll see how he performs this week. But Taylor Decker, having a shoulder injury already, and it's the same shoulder, these defensive ends are going to tee up on him. More so than they did in the first game. As reported, it said that the Detroit Lions left tackle, Taylor Decker, is dealing with a shoulder injury that caused him to miss practice on Wednesday and Thursday. But both he and the team's offensive coordinator expect him to play this weekend against the Chicago Bears. Now, since it goes on to say that since the start of training camp, when this shoulder was already repaired, right? He already had the surgery done, that he's been dealing with it, I guess, the entire season, but it was not part of the training camp, was not an issue that that arose during training camp, that, if I'm making that clear enough. He didn't have this problem 3 weeks ago. This is after the game. And if it's enough to keep him out of practice, and if it's enough to, to where he did not play well at all in the first game, that has me a bit worried. We needed the outside, the 3 oldest guys on this offensive line to play their best football this season, and now you have a guy that's injured. Peter Van Laarhoven says Decker is a warrior, but I think that this is his last year. He just can't go anymore. I hate it for the guy. Decker is I can't speak. Decker is a warrior. I believe that. We've seen it, man, year after year after year. But he just doesn't look like he has the power anymore, and it would make sense. If you're dealing with a shoulder injury, that power is going to be a problem. I don't know how many of you have ever had a labrum tear anywhere in your body, but the moment that you get that little glitch, is what I call it, man, it can drop you to your knees depending on where it is. Right? I have labrum tears in both my hips, because both my hips have to get replaced. And when I'm walking, it just catches, right? And it just wants to drop you to your knees. But then you could walk 100 miles and it'd be fine. But it's that one moment that it's just you step wrong, or you know what I mean? And it catches, and it's debilitating. So I can only imagine playing in an NFL game, how many different positions you're putting that shoulder in that it's probably going to catch. And when it catches, you have zero strength. That arm is just gonna fall back. That's a little concerning. Yeah, Peter, I agree with you, man. Look, I thought that the Lions were going to double down that year on corner, and they did. I mean, both in free agency and taking Ennis Rakestraw in the second round. I think the better play probably would have been to take an offensive tackle. Looking back, hindsight 2020 as it always is. However, I think that what Brad was trying to do was set up our defensive backfield to have a high-level starter and a high-level backup right away. By year 2, which this year would have been year 2 for both those guys, had both of them stayed healthy, it would have been a great play. Because as you're seeing, to give Brad his credit, as you're seeing, what are the Packers doing really well right now? It is their DB play. It's that secondary that is the most deadly right now. You can't do anything against that secondary, which allows their defensive line to tee off on you. That's why the secondary is so much more important than a defensive end ever will be. Without a secondary, I don't care who your defensive end is, they are going to be worthless. If you can consistently just pepper everybody 5, 6, 7, 8 yards downfield, that defensive end is taken out of the game. So I get why Brad did it, but again, hindsight being what it is, I do too, think that we needed an offensive tackle back then. However, I said 2 years ago I wanted them to draft a guard center, more so a center that can play guard. I think all centers can play guard to a degree. I think all guards can definitely, rotate to center as far as the body size, not so much the mentality, to start training that individual to be ready for day one when Ragnow couldn't go or Ragnow retired. And here we are. And it's kind of blown up in our face. I did expect Graham Glasgow to be the center this year, and I expect him to play at a high level, and I still do. Even Graham Glasgow being the 20th ranked center in the league is not going to hurt this offense. Right now, he's at the bottom of the list. But if he can manage to play at a mid-level compared to everybody else in the league, we don't really need much more than that from him. What we need is Mahogany and Ratledge to play at a very high level. And we can't have guys like Taylor Decker injured, and Penei Sewell needs to somehow figure out his pass pro. Okay, so all that being what it is, Morton needs to go talk with Hank Fraley and say, we need slide protections. We need more chips. We need to have a tight end in game that is able to get down on the other side and produce a block. This weekend, I'm expecting more outside zone. We need to be using the outside zone game to the Penei Sewell side. Hell, take Penei Sewell and throw him on the left side for a couple of plays and run that way. Ben Johnson's never seen that. Well, maybe he has in practice. Do something different, man. I'd rather see you do something different on the offensive line than to see you run some trick plays. Yeah, 12, 22 personnel, whatever. We need more guys in there, man. Some jumbo sets. Trey says we have 75 people in-house, 22 likes. We need to get it up. We're 3 minutes away from 9 o'clock, and that's the cutoff. That is the cutoff today. And each and every day, 8:30, we like to get to 75 or 75% before 8:30. Looks like we have 52 likes right now. There's 100 people in. Let's get that up real quick. We'll get these ads turned off. I always help you out every day. I turned them way down to start the day, so you guys shouldn't have been getting killed. But I do have to keep YouTube happy, somewhat. We do have a big announcement coming on just after 9 o'clock. We'll hit the hard out, and big announcement here at after 9 o'clock. I just got to check my email. One sec. Okay. All right. I think we're good. Okay. Hard out. We'll be right back.
Pressure by Hutchinson.
All right. We're going to roll through 10 takeaways by Tim Twentyman. I was going to roll through all the different video today of each of the coordinators, but I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to roll through what Tim Twentyman had to share, his quotes, some of the conversations pre and post this week's, media availability. Obviously, we know that there's a standard in Detroit, and that standard is going to continue no matter what. This collection of coaches is going to get it put together. I do not expect Dan Campbell to fail. I get it. There's some players that have extra pressure on them this week. And I think that 97.1 this morning, I think they did a pretty good job at identifying who those players are. However, the narrative to me continues to drive everywhere, where the first player out of someone's mouth is Marcus Davenport. And you leave Aiden Hutchinson off the list of pressure. I said this early, to start the show, but now I'm going to talk about it for just a moment. Aiden Hutchinson had the worst game of pretty much anybody on the defense. Why would he not be the first name out of your mouth for somebody that needs to have an amazing game this weekend? Somebody that is potentially going to earn north of $47 million a year. The number that I've heard is $53 million a season. Why would he not be? Did he play like a $50 million defensive end this weekend? No. Did he play like a $25 million defensive end this weekend? Nope. He played like a rookie this weekend. Why is the first name out of somebody's mouth Marcus Davenport? The only defensive end that produced some stats, some stuffs in the run game. Played pretty well at controlling the run on his side of the field. Had some pretty good bull rushes at times, getting some pressure back there on the quarterback. On Jordan Love. He is not the one that had the bad game. It wasn't good enough. By a long shot, it wasn't good enough. But this last weekend wasn't about Aiden needing somebody. This was about Davenport needing somebody. The narrative just needs to stop. This whole unit, they need everybody to perform at a high level. Did Tyleek play well enough? No, he didn't. Did DJ Reader play well enough? No, I saw Reader getting thrown around at times. They got overpowered, overmatched, out-hustled. That must change this weekend. They need to play so fierce and so pissed off. You might get a couple of penalties. I want to see some fights. I want to see these guys jawing. Run their mouth. Get in there. Perform. Do something. At the end of the day, you need to get underneath the Bears' skin. Literally. The narrative is old. But yes, there are some players that need some pressure this weekend. Aiden is one of them. Yes, Davenport, I would throw on the list at the very bottom of the list to say that he could play better too. Tyleek Williams as a rookie needs to play better. DJ Reader as one of the veteran leaders on this defensive line needs to play better. But I would say that the biggest area of concern for me on the defense was DJ Reed. He was the biggest area of concern for me. Oh, I forgot they took away all our stats. Let me see if I can find them a different way. Yeah, they're gone. What a major screw up by NFL Pro. Especially the day before the weekend of the game. I'm going to have to make sure I take a screenshot of this stuff next time. Let me go into PFF real quick and explain why DJ Reed needs to play at a much higher level. This won't give me everything that I need, but it'll give me a little bit. 38 overall defensive grade, 30.5 in coverage. He was targeted 5 times for 4 receptions, 80% reception rate, 47 yards, 11.8 per catch, 12 yards EAC, a long of 20 yards. Now, he was not credited with a touchdown in this game. A passer rating against of 105.8. And it's not good enough. It's not even close. The one thing that I do respect out of DJ Reed is he is a hell of a tackler. And that's where he does excel, is tackling. He's good in the run game. His run fits were good. I thought that he played well. I thought that he did a good job getting downfield or upfield to get in there and get into the run game, make some stops. I do expect that again this weekend. Swift is going to have to get controlled. I don't think he's a good back. I think he's quick, right? I think he can make some moves, right? He can definitely put you on your heels a little bit if you allow him to. If they don't take away the screen game from Ben Johnson, it's going to be a long day for the Lions. Conversely, if we don't use the screen game against Ben Johnson, because it is the same defense, then it won't be a long day for the Bears. The Lions need to utilize every tool in the tool shed. But DJ Reed should have the most pressure on his head this weekend to know that he did not play to the level or the standard that this secondary needs to be at. More importantly, Kirby Joseph, he also deserves some pressure. It seems like every year that we sign, outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown, every year that we sign a player to a big contract, it seems like their next year kind of falls apart for him. I don't want that to be the case with Kirby Joseph. Now, he had a pretty decent game. And again, without going to the tape and seeing, which side, was his, especially if he was in a cover 1 or even cover 0 or whatever it was, if we had a single high safety back there, he's responsible for the back end. And when they're getting plays downfield and he's not anywhere to be seen, that's a problem. Kirby has had this innate ability to allow these big plays on the back end, and he doesn't get credited for them simply because, well, maybe that wasn't his side of the hash. Well, that would make sense if it was cover 2. But now when we're running single high safety, he should be responsible for everything back there, and he just kind of disappeared. And where guys were, where the Packers were able to execute, Kirby did not. But this game wasn't all about him. I think that him and Brian Branch played a pretty decent game. Brian Branch obviously had the best game out of all of the DBs. But DJ Reed needs to play a lot better. Terrion Arnold needs to play a lot better too. And look, I'm not going to utilize his injury as an excuse. But at the same time, if you're dealing with a groin injury, it's going to be pretty hard to flip and run. And he was struggling with at times. But before that, again, rush defense, 78.4. 80 in tackle grade. But his coverage was a 54.5. He was targeted 6 times, 4 catches, 66.7 overall, 86 yards of offense, 21.5 yards per catch, 149.3 passer rating against. Terrible football game. In a half, right? Because he was pretty much out the entire second half. Or I think he was out the entire second half. He's got to play better. So between those two guys, they can't allow this stuff to happen. They just can't. All right, Snoopy Lion. I don't know if you caught the first part of this with John Morton. And I don't know if you watched last night's game with Washington, but I apologize, buddy, you're wrong. This was not about Goff not throwing the football downfield. It was not open. If you have not watched any film or any tape, please don't come in here and say things that are wholeheartedly untrue. Because that is untrue. You need to watch the tape. They were not open. Period. And the way that the offensive line performed, they did not allow the guys to get open because Goff had pressure too many times. Just look at what Washington wasn't able to do. It's the same thing. Washington averaged 4.8 yards per play. Jaden Daniels was 24 of 42 for 200 yards, 4.8 yards per play, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, took 4 sacks on the day, a 26.9 QBR, and an 85.4 rating. Let's compare that to the Lions. Jared Goff, 31 of 39. Very similar stat line. Jaden Daniels was 24-42. Jared Goff at 225. Jaden Daniels at 200. Jared Goff averaged 5.8 yards per play. Jaden Daniels was 4.8 yards per play, a whole yard more. Jaden had 2 TDs to Jared Goff's 1. Jared took 4 sacks, so did Jaden Daniels. Jared Goff had a 61.4 QBR. Jaden Daniels a 25.4. Jared Goff's passer rating 88.6, and Jaden Daniels was less than that. So don't tell me that Jared Goff didn't try to put the ball downfield because he did better than what Jaden Daniels did. And they both had the same problem. Nothing was open downfield, and their offensive line was not giving them enough opportunity. Jaden Daniels was bottled up. And again, it's not about, it's not about trying to pick on you, but if you're going to throw something like that in there, please just back it up with some stats and some facts, man. We won't push a narrative unless it's true, right? Let's let it be true. Peter Van Larhoven, yes, that Brian Branch penalty was stupid. I mean, clearly you can't be ripping guys' helmets off. Can't do it. Mike P, good statement, says, as I watched the game the third time, I saw players who usually explode off the ball and fire with purpose. They were moving slow with no punch, watching instead of moving, confused and flat foot. It's what I saw too, man. That's what I was trying to say earlier. The words weren't coming out. They did not move with any intensity. It's almost like they didn't know what they were supposed to do. And any time that you really don't know what you're supposed to do, you don't move with intent, especially in football, right? If you know what you're doing, go back to, let's wind all the way back to 2021. Or better yet, let's go to 2022. Alex Anzalone could not play his game. Why? He was worried about everybody else around them, him not being in the right position and not running the right plays, right? And couldn't execute at a high level. What happened when they finally fired, who was it? Who did they fire? Who was the DB coach back then? Why can't I remember his name? Anyway, they fired the DB coach. And what the DB coach was doing back then was kind of just doing whatever he wanted, right? He was not calling the same play within the scheme. And that was putting more stress on the linebackers because they had to cover too much. So when he was gone, then you started to see Alex Anzalone immediately in week 6 and 7 play the way that he could play. He was playing fast, right? He was playing with intent. And so I'm putting that analogy into this to say that that's what I saw again this past weekend, is guys were not comfortable. They were not comfortable. They were not confident. And it will change. It'll take a little bit of time. It'll change. Pleasant. There we go. Aubrey Pleasant. Thank you. Yeah, Packers played that Tampa 2, man, as Rob E1s was saying. Rushed 4, destroyed our O-line, nothing open downfield. Goff was repeatedly pushed off his spot on the drop back. Yeah, all good statements there. Clearly somebody that watched a little bit of tape, or at least watched the game a couple of times, right? Forty Gumble says last year was fun, winning 15 games, but like I said, this year is going to be trial by fire throughout, and hopefully we won't be caught by surprise come that first playoff game. I would agree. Last year was fun, but it was also it gave you guys a false sense of security into thinking that we would just be able to do that again this season. We were running with different players and different scheme, but you know what I would emphasize there? Whatever was working for bringing in guys that were not part of the scheme from the beginning, why were they able to have success? It's a simple answer. They were able to have success because the coaching staff didn't put too much into the game plan for these guys. They let them play to their strengths. Now, look, you can't go into every game and just play a vanilla scheme and say, do what you do well. You get figured out. And teams will take advantage of that. And I do believe that too. Peter Van Larhoven says that Zeitler was way more important than Brad and Dan thought. Look, I don't think that they thought that he wasn't important. I don't think that at all. I think everybody understands how important Kevin Zeitler was. To have an all-pro, playing right guard was huge. Unfortunately, they were not going to be able to pay Kevin Zeitler another $10 million bucks. What did he get? Did he get $12 million? $9 million. He got $9 million with Tennessee. So they weren't going to be able to pay that, right? And then still be able to do what they need to do next season. And I think that's what a lot of people are forgetting is a lot of you want Aiden retained. I'm kind of an a-hole when it comes to business, right? I mean, I'm the nicest guy in the world, but if I'm going to make a business deal, it has to work, right? And for me, I would rather redraft and start developing that next defensive end, and I wouldn't ever pay a defensive end $50 million bucks. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I would never do that to my team. There's no way you can have 4 guys making $160 million a year. And right now, that's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Jared Goff. And if you pay Aiden, that's $160 million a year. That's over 60% of the cap today. It'll be over 50% of the cap when it happens, if it happens. Oh, wait, you still have a Lee McNeil making 20? Huh. Brian Branch, and you know what I'm saying? Like, in Penei Sewell, right? There's another 20 some odd million. So you're talking $185 million to 5 guys, over $200 million to 6 guys. It's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I wouldn't do it. As much, if you remove U of M from Aiden's name, I guarantee you less than 50% of you would want him paid. I guarantee it. And it's not that he's not a good football player. It's not that he's not wanted in Detroit, or he's not that he's not a big part of this team, because he is. To me, it's a dollars and cents thing. Can I still get the production that I'm looking for out of 2 players as opposed to 1? Or can I get 2 really good players for that price? And now if one goes down, I still have another one behind him. Hell, can I add up all the money that I'm going to pay both my defensive ends, or all 4 or 5 defensive ends? Can I get 4 really good defensive ends making $20 million a piece? Because I'll be honest, this will be a segment. I'm going to put it together for next week. If I were to go out and pluck 4 guys making $20 to $25 million a piece, or let me say that another way. So if Aiden's making 50, and what is Davenport making? Like 2.5, but what would he really be worth if he had a good season? Probably north of 15. You guys wanted Z, we can use that number, 10. So now we're talking $60 million a year just for 2 guys. So if I can go find 5 guys or 4 guys making $15 million apiece, or 1 guy making 25 and another guy making 20, and then 2 guys making 10, how much production would I get by having a really good rotation, keeping guys healthy, and still able to get the numbers that we need? That's how I would do it. I would not sink all my chips into one guy. I never would. I think it's stupid. But Aiden's a big part of the team, man. He's a hometown guy. He's a good football player. I don't think he's elite, but I think he's a very good football player. I think he's close. We need to see a lot out of him this year. I would be very surprised if they get Aiden paid this year. And if they paid him this week, I think that would be a huge mistake. I said it from the very beginning of this offseason. A lot of you did not like it when I said, do not pay Aiden until you get at least a half a season out of him and you see what he's going to be. Let me ask you this question. If Aiden would have been paid $45 million and he played the way that he did this past weekend, what would you have said? Would you have been getting on Brad for that? That you shouldn't have paid Aiden? Or would you make up all the excuses in the world that it was somebody else? It was somebody else's fault. Let's be honest with ourselves. You can't blame somebody else for that individual's performance. You can't. What's going on the other side has nothing to do with Aiden. The only players that directly affect Aiden are the guys to the left and right of him. Immediate left and right and behind. So that's Amik Robertson, Brian Branch, Terry and Arnold, whoever's behind him. Derek Barnes, Ali McNeil, or Tyleek Williams. That's it. You can split the defense in half. This half is responsible for that half, and this half is responsible for this half. If you're not playing well on this side, it's not because of what's really going on the other side. Now, collectively, they all play together, right? And yeah, when you have a really good, one side of your defense, usually the other side of the defense is going to get a lot of the, opportunity because they're going to go that direction. And you have to be able to execute. Aiden didn't execute. The whole defense didn't execute. But you get what I'm saying here. We can't just say that it's somebody else's fault. If I don't go and execute, if I'm a salesperson and I'm supposed to go and sell something to somebody and I don't make the sale, who are you going to blame? Am I going to blame the CEO? Am I going to blame a different salesperson? Am I going to blame the guy that trained me? No, it's my fault. I didn't make the sale. It's nobody else's fault. You have to learn to accept responsibility for your actions. And all I see out of a lot of Lions fans is they're trying to pass the buck to somebody else and make all the excuses in the world for somebody because they like that individual. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It never has. You have to be willing to accept responsibility for your actions. When I screw up, when I have a bad day, if I miss a stat, if I show up late, what is the first thing I do? I apologize. It's my fault. Right? If we have technical difficulties, we have technical difficulties. It's still my fault. Is Panay overpaid? Could be. I think he's getting paid a pretty decent number. He's obviously not the highest paid. I wouldn't say. I think Panay does a lot more for this team than he does less. I mean, it's hard to find another right tackle that good. And I guess if you were to look across the league, I think that Panay is getting compared to left tackles, which I don't know why. Go look at all the other right tackles in the league. The one thing that Panay doesn't do well is pass pro. And that's about it. Michael Garrity, didn't know you were in urgent care, buddy. Hope you're doing okay this morning. Forty Gumble says Shepard definitely made it clear yesterday that accountability didn't leave the building with AG. What do you mean by that? I missed that. Oh, yeah. ARF, this is not a mole. I don't know what this is. It's been there ever since I was a little kid. There's a certain name for it. I don't remember what it's called. But they have to check it every couple years to make sure it's not cancerous. I told them to take the damn thing out a long time ago, but they said that it's too close to my eye. It's not worth the risk. Shep's presser. Let's bring it in. Let's watch Shep. I don't know how I missed that one. I probably didn't. I probably saw it. But did I miss what he said? Absolutely. Where is it? Okay. All right, so there's a media availability. You have the coordinators, which... Let me go back to the Lions. I usually look at the Lions website. And I go into the media, or the video side. You know what it is? It's right here.
Good.
It's about 12 minutes long. But let me do this. I want to make a little announcement here. So, been working pretty hard here over the last couple of seasons. And I've always been reluctant to work for somebody, right? To take this to the level of where I have to work for somebody. But good things happen, and been invited to join the Believe Network to do some Lions content for the Believe Network. Everything still remains the same. So the announcement is I'll be joining the Believe Network. Rockhound Detroit Lions will be doing the audio podcast as well. And so once we get the audio portion put back together, it just takes a lot of editing. The audio portion will go up on their site as well. So the Believe Network will be promoting, helping the Rockhound Podcast Network with guests eventually, right? Doing some crossovers from week to week, as well as some other things with sponsorships and other opportunities. The goal is to grow, right? The goal is to fill the cup for the Rockhound Cancer Foundation. And being able to work with some really good people over there that will obviously have some good ideas and help us in ways that maybe I don't recognize is going to be great. I had a great conversation yesterday with an individual, and more importantly, everything stays the same. It's still under my control. I can do the content that I want to do and do what I want to do when I want to do it. And I think that that's a huge benefit because we've worked our ass off, for this long to make some things happen. And I think it's a good partnership. I really do. And that's really what it is a really good partnership. And I think the Believe Network, everything that I've seen from them, I think that they're good people, man. I really do. I think they put a good, do a real good job at promoting some really good content out there. And nothing changes. Just remember that nothing changes. They don't own any of my channels. I'm not selling any of my channels or anything like that. It all stays with us. So this will be a good partnership for us. So there'll probably be some things that I'm mentioning now, in the coming weeks or whatever as we get things rolling. But that is the next step for Rockhound Detroit Lions and the Rockhound Podcast Network, or Rockhound Sports Media Group, is partnering with the Believe Network and taking the next step. So that's the big one, man. That's a big opportunity for us to be able to have some really good people behind us and helping us with some things. So let's get into Shep, man. I didn't even think of playing this one today, so thank you for giving me this idea here. All right, I love Shep. Let's see what he has to say, and then I'll come back and break down the 10 observations.
I just want to open up with starting with obviously addressing week 1 against Green Bay. Obviously, we left Lambeau with a loss on the wrong side of the day there, but I really want to dive into the game real briefly and just put everything out there as far as how I saw it. So coming off the field, you guys know ultra competitive nature of the game. My temperament and things, I was pissed, and I'm ready to scald everybody. But then you sit back and look at it, and after the second time and after the third time, you go, there's a lot of good football on this tape. We played 47 snaps defensively, and they had 188 passing yards, 78 rushing. So if you look at an NFL game and you tell me the Green Bay Packers are going to have 188 passing yards and 78 rushing, did you play a winning brand of football? I would tell you yes, but then you have to look deeper into that. So what happened? Why did we give up 27 points? And it's a lot of things that go into that, a lot of different variables that go into that. But let's start with the pass game. 188 yards. Well, I believe it was play 18, 19 of the game. We had back-to-back plays where we allowed a 48-yard explosive pass and a 17-yard explosive touchdown pass that we went into the game saying, you got to make these guys beat us. You cannot give them things because that's when they thrive. You have to make them beat us, and we did not do that on back-to-back plays. Inexcusable, and that's been addressed. So you take, 48-17, I'm not a math major, but I believe that's 65 yards. You take that off of 180, you're looking at 120 yards passing on the day. Let's go into the run game. We held them to 3.1 rushing. That's a good day in the NFL against a back like that. It's a good day. But we should have been dominant in the run game. We should have been at 2.2. Why do I say that? Because one of those was a 15-yard explosive run that should have never happened. That's been addressed as well. So when you go in the day, it's a lot of good to take for it. So 47 plays, I just gave you 3. Where you 2.2 in the run game and 120 yards passing. That's who we are. And that's who I expect us to be, and that's who we will be. And it's non-negotiable. And all this stuff has been addressed with the people it need to be addressed with. And more importantly, the players are holding each other accountable. And in the NFL, that's why each practice, each rep you get, each opportunity you get on that grass is so critical and important because you never know which one is going to be the one. You never know. You can't leave the game playing this game of we played good defense on 40 snaps, but 7 snaps. We're not doing that this year. You're going to pull your weight. I'm going to pull my weight. The staff's going to pull their weight. And we're moving on to Chicago. And I'm looking for us to play up to the standard that we're capable of playing up to. Any questions?
Shep, the thing that jumped out was just the no sacks, 2 quarterback hits. I don't think any guy
Sorry, I always mute my mic when I put these guys on. I just got to fix that. I'll fix that today, so I don't have to mute my mic. But I don't like there's a slight echo when I don't. I haven't figured that out. I don't know why that is. But anyway, he is so pissed that you could hear the shakiness in his voice. It's the what he's doing when he's like pausing before he's making a statement. He is like, he's pissed. You can hear he said it as much. But you're right, I missed this one. I don't know how I missed this one. So thank you for bringing this up, because this is one that I don't like to miss. He made some extremely good points right in the beginning. Now, I missed some of the numbers that he threw out. But 188 pass yards. What was my call before the game? I said that there's no way the Packers are going to have 200 yards passing. That was my call before the game. You said you could lock it in. The over-under, I think, was 225. I went with 200. They had 188. That is damn good football. 78 was 78 yards rushing. And he's saying that they should have been around 2.2 because there was a couple of explosive runs. Same thing in the pass game. A 48-yarder and a 17-yarder, 65 yards. You take away the rest of those yards. Let me just open up some stats real quick. If you go to Jordan Love's box score, 16 of 22. So if you take away 65 yards from 188 minus 65, that's 123 pass yards. That would be on 14 attempts. That is still 8.8 yards per attempt. Or 8.8 yards per completion, excuse me. Per completion. That's still really good football. Per attempt, though, it drops down to 6.15 yards per attempt, which is better football. In the run game, they had 25 carries, 78 yards, and they had one explosive of 15. 78 minus 15 is 63. Divide that by 24 is I think he had his numbers wrong. 2.63 yards per carry. If you take out that one explosive run. So he's 100% accurate that they are playing a good brand of defense. It's just, it's not good enough. And I really love the statement that says, I'll just use percentages. We're not going to play 85% of the game great and then give up 15% of the plays to explosives, because that's how you're going to lose the game. They need to play shutdown, lockdown football. So do I believe that there's a major issue? No. Same thing with the offense. Do I believe there's a major issue? No. I think there's some issues, and they're going to be there all season. But that doesn't mean that we won't get back to the Lions brand of football. It doesn't. Those are some incredible numbers. The difference is they executed, right? They executed when they had an opportunity to execute, and they turned it into points. The Lions did not. We get down to the red zone. We sputter out. That's why, John Morton, if you ever listen, I will always say, man, you get to that 30-yard line, pepper that frickin' end zone. Get the ball into the end zone. You saw what Tesla was able to do. Put him down there. Give him another opportunity to win. All right, let's keep on going.
More than one total pressure together. We just shut that part of the operation. What was your thought? Was it something that Green Bay was just doing a good job on a quick sets and stuff like that? But with the pass rush specifically, what was your observation?
They were nudging, chipping all day and getting the ball out. They weren't going to allow it. Go back with your stopwatch and turn on the pass plays. They weren't going to allow it. But more importantly, I want to give credit to our guys of not letting this guy out of the pocket. That's things that we've struggled with in years past. Jordan Love has burned us in years past with his legs. He had one run, I think, for 4 yards. So I want to look at the positives in that. Yeah, we could have done things and things like that, but we had a specific game plan. And for the most part, the guys went out and executed the game plan. And I just gave you the stats. That should have been a dominant outing on Sunday, and it will be moving forward.
I want to talk about the two play.
All right, so now I'm not muted. Here's what I'm trying to say is I love the fact that he's bringing the stats into this, where AG or others really don't bring in the stats a whole lot. There's a portion of this game that lives in the stat world, and then there's a portion of this game that lives in execution, and that is what AG is trying to get you to understand this morning, is that his defense, the way that he's been coaching it, is doing exactly what they really need to do from a statistical standpoint, but the execution is where the breakdown was. And to his credit, he's saying that they're nudging and chipping and getting the ball out. They weren't going to allow it. It's exactly right. And that's exactly what our offensive line needs to do. But there's something even bigger here that they didn't allow, which was Jordan Love to escape the pocket. But you can't allow him to stand in the pocket and deliver two major explosives that separated this game. And for the Lions to be able to get down to the red zone, the difference is the Packers execute, the Lions did not. You have to be able to get the ball into your playmakers' hands before the red zone. Don't even worry about getting to the red zone. Take care of it before you get there. And that's what the Packers did. They get downfield and they start shooting at the end zone. Let's keep going.
Drive, the two plays scoring drive, the 65 yards. Looked like Kirby bit down on an over route there.
Kirby did exactly what he was supposed to do.
So he has the ability to kind of ad-lib.
Kirby did exactly what he was supposed to do with the structure of the defense.
On the pick play, how can Terrion defend that better?
By learning by previous mistakes. You guys been around here. We got the exact same play at San Francisco last year. Turn it on to Pearsall. Learn from your mistakes. You're a professional.
He's just livid. He is shaky mad. I've never seen Shepard like this before. But he is so pissed off right now that he's just shaking internally.
When the decision was made to bring pressure from the linebackers, what was your assessment of Alex, Jack, and Derek when you decided to bring blitzes and pressures from the linebackers?
You just gave us the stats. What were those outstanding stats, Tim? We got, 2 pressures? You got to be better. Got to be better. You get your number called, you got to be better. Point blank period. That's also been addressed.
All right, that's another big win for us when we're talking about where we expected this defense to execute this season. Derek and Alex and Jack getting the primary looks in the blitz game, getting after the quarterback. 2 pressures is not enough. But again, watching what I saw in practice and expecting what I seen in preseason to follow through to the regular season, the number one call I made about this defense is the linebackers are going to get after the quarterback. It is not going to be so much about the defensive ends all the time. There's going to be plenty of games where it's going to be the reverse. But I think the primary method for Aaron Glenn, last season and seasons past, was he really wanted to utilize the ends as opposed to getting the rest of the team involved. And that shot us in the foot. Did we have some really good games? We did. But at the end of the day, if you're not utilizing the guys that can get to the quarterback the quickest, which is through the A and the B gap, you're going to leave a lot of plays on the field.
Those outstanding stats, Tim. We got, 2 pressures? We got to be better. Got to be better. You get your number called, you got to be better. Point blank period. That's also been addressed.
How much did the groin play into those 2 plays that he?
If you're injured, come out the game. If you're injured, come out the game. We're not making any excuses. No. We're not making any excuses. Just like if I have a play called I shouldn't have called, that's on me. A player has a job to do, that's on them. We all earn our paycheck. There won't be any free rides this year. We all come to the stadium with a job to do your job. Point blank period.
You mentioned good job keeping the quarterback in the pocket. Caleb's a different animal in that regard in terms of just his mobility, squeezing through gaps, and just a quick first step. How much more of an emphasis is that this week compared to week one?
It's a heightened emphasis if you watch the Monday night game, not compared to week one or anything. Jordan Loves has scramble ability, but if you watch week one, and you not only learn from your mistakes, but you learn from others. Those are the really smart people to me. People that learn from others' mistakes. You know, to me, I hope it's easy to learn from your own mistake. Shame on you. I mean, but when you start to really heighten your awareness in this league, in this sport, is when you turn on the film and see the previous opponent make a certain mistake, and you're able to learn from that and make sure it doesn't happen to you.
Exactly. And that's why, what did I say for my call this weekend for the Chicago Bears? The biggest mistake that the Bears had against the defense that they faced against the Vikings was allowing the middle of that defense to execute at a high level and get 6 pressures on Caleb Williams. That is why they started to win that football game, was through the middle of that defense. That's why the middle of the defense is so important to every team, but especially for your Detroit Lions. You need a strong interior. So learning from the mistakes of what the Bears made in their first game against the Vikings would tell you that they are not strong in the middle. They made a ton of mistakes on that offensive line. That should be an emphasis or a point of emphasis or reference for you to learn from their mistakes. Now you have to go execute and look at what they did right and try to go do the same thing. And that's the game study that I did this week is, what did the Vikings do well? What did the Bears not do well? How can the Lions take advantage of that? So Shepard's, again, he's right about all this, man.
So Caleb was outstanding. He extended a lot of drives. He put points on the board. He gave his team opportunity to win last year via his ability to escape the pocket and run. We're very aware of that, and we'll have a plan for it.
Ben's greatest strength as a play caller.
Excuse me?
What is Ben's greatest strength as a play caller?
Everything. Next question.
Shep, I'm curious, you mentioned that players have already started to hold themselves accountable for last week. Are you able to share any of what you've witnessed of that with us and how the players are holding them accountable? And not just
Any accountability, player to player, coach to player, will stay between us, and no disrespect or anything like that. But I keep that stuff close to the vest because of the level of trust that we've built and the way we've been able to look each other in the eye on Monday and shoot it straight. So
I absolutely love that, man. You keep that stuff in-house. You know, that's just like, marriage, between you and your wife or whatever, you and your husband. There's certain conversations that you have that you just don't let outside the room, You don't involve your family or your friends. You got to keep stuff close to the vest. There's a certain level of trust that you've built to know that you're not going to go outside your marriage. It's the same thing with this football team, man. These guys are bleeding for each other, every single week. And when they have hard conversations and they call players only meetings, which I'm surprised we didn't hear about one getting called this week. And maybe they did, and we just didn't hear about it. You got to keep that stuff in-house, man. You don't want to tell the world, what these guys are saying to each other. I love that. Absolutely.
We'll never disclose those conversations, but you guys see the game, and we see the tape. I think it's clear as day. And then I have to do things to help these guys more, too. Everybody know we're a man team. So how can I help these guys in those man situations, in those man windows where we've shown we're going to play man?
Shep, you have talked about the importance of Ben to your development. You'd spend, time in his office, and he helped, shape your understanding of offense and make you a better defensive coach. Yep. How much are you just looking forward to the chess match that this Sunday is going to be?
I'm looking forward to seeing our players respond off of a loss. I could care less who's calling the plays, who's over there, what's the scenario, what the media wants to make this out to be. We are coming off a loss, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking forward to seeing not only our players, but our coaches respond coming off of a loss.
Dan and Hutch yesterday.
Is it just me, or do the Detroit Lions coaching staff have a different view of the media this year? I'm glad I'm not the only one that has made some calls, calling out, the media for the narratives. I get sick of it. And clearly, Shepard is sick of it. Clearly, Dan the other day is sick of it. They're sick of the narratives. They're sick of people just peddling things for clicks. That's why it has been so important to me to try to deliver as much truth, honesty, and transparency as possible. To really tell you what's going on with the team and not drive this narrative that, okay, the Lions lose to the Packers and Aiden still needs help on the other side. No, it was the absolute other way around. Then there's nothing wrong with saying that. If you're a true fan and you really love this team, then recognize everybody's faults and in what they're doing wrong and what they're doing right. When they do something right, give them the credit that they deserve. Don't find a way to just say, or continue the same narrative because you were wrong in your assessment. It takes a bigger man to admit that they're wrong about something than to continue to peddle the same narrative just because you don't want to be wrong. Hence, continuing to pound your chest about edge rusher for 3 years, and you never get the edge rusher that you want, and the Lions never make that move, but you continue to pound your chest about it because you were wrong. And you continue to drive narratives because you were wrong. I would rather not be a narcissist. I'd rather just admit that I was wrong.
They said, when we talked to Dan and Hutch yesterday, the emphasis was on winning the one-on-ones to free up Hutch, but Hutch said he probably only got 2 or 3 one-on-ones. Is there anything you can do to free him up more, or is it just about winning those fleeting chances?
If Hutch is occupying 2 or 3 people, there's 11 other guys there's 10 other guys on the field.
Bingo.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and give you guys my game plan. But Hutch is the caliber player that he is, and everybody in the league knows it. Turn on San Fran tape and tell me who's one-on-one blocking Nick Bosa. Turn on Green Bay tape when you get an 8-game sample size. Who's one-on-one blocking Micah Parsons? When you're the elite of the elite, people are going to plan for you. And that's why he's the caliber player that he is. We will counter that, and Hutch will counter that. He's an ultra-aware player. He knows how to manipulate things and move himself around. We're working off a 1-game sample size, people, and 47 plays at that. That's not a huge sample size at all. There will be things that change, but I'm not going to overreact over the pressures. Like I said, 47 snaps, take away those 3 plays, and you guys tell me would y'all have liked that as Lions fans as a defensive performance. But you cannot play that game. You cannot take plays out. That's why each play is that important and that critical that we detail and do your job each and every play.
It's not Chicago.
All right, real quick. I think what he's trying to tell everybody here is when you go look around the league, man, tell me how many of these guys are getting singled up that aren't doing their job. Right? If they're doubled, if they're singled and chipped, if they're tripled from time to time, which never really happens, you might see a double in a chip. It's not a triple team. That's a double in a chip. And if they're still able to win, why can't Hutch? Right? He's not going to outwardly say that, but at the same time, he's kind of saying that. Go look around the league and tell me who's not getting doubled that's elite. Why are they able to make plays, but our guys can't? But to his exact point, there's still 10 other guys on the football field. Somebody needs to go and make a play. But see, what a lot of people don't understand is just because that Aiden is doubled on a play doesn't mean that Davenport has free reign to fire after the quarterback. His detail assignment on that play may be to hang back and contain. Right? His play may be to occupy the zone, the flats right there. He may be able to get a little bit vertical, toward, up into the side of the quarterback, but he may not be able to go inside because you don't want to allow Jordan Love or Caleb Williams to break containment and get outside the box. And I think it does take an aware fan to know these things, or better yet, listen to the right channels and the right people. It's not just me. There's plenty of other, people out there that do these high-level breakdowns. All 22 does a really good job. John Gruden does a really good job. and others do a really good job at explaining why sometimes it's not just getting after the quarterback. There's other plans and details and assignments that go on in every football play.
I see Jeremy today. Seems like one of those guys that maybe took advantage of some of those one-on-ones was Al-Qadim Muhammad. Only had 7 snaps, but maybe a couple pressures in there. Just curious what you thought of his game, and maybe did he earn himself a little bit more of a role?
It's what I saw the last 6 weeks. It's the reason he's here. He earned himself a role in that game, but 47 plays. You know what I mean? 47 plays defensively. He did have a bigger role in the game. If we would have played the norm, you're somewhere around 60, 65 snaps, he would have played 15, 20. But the way the game unfolded, it was what it was. We had those guys behind the sticks all day. The opening drive, it's an emphasis. Starting the game fast, going in the half and coming out the half. The momentum swings of football. We have to be great in those situations. Point blank, period. Second and long, third and long, second and long, third and long. That's where we want to live, and that's where we kept them. We have to thrive in those situations.
Just wanted to close it with maybe a little bit more on the Bears. First, does Ben's offense, how similar is it to what he ran last year? I know it's different personnel, but just conceptually.
First thing I told the guys is, I didn't mean cut you off. You had more.
Well, and then I just was curious about some of the personnel too.
I told the guys, it's going to be training camp practice, guys. It's training camp. DA, I know DA, known him a while. You know, kind of AG came from that system. So it's all the same, not only offensively, but defensively. You turn their tape on and look at it deeply. It's a lot of the same. I told the guys, it's training camp. Don't go chasing ghosts. Don't go worrying about if he brings in eligible and he's a receiver. Listen, we all understand and respect Ben Johnson as a person, more importantly, but also as a play caller. That's why he got afforded opportunities in. And we all understand this. But I clearly want to make this about the players. They're the ones going to play. Ben will tell you the same thing. They're the ones going to play and executing all these things we're drawing up. So I want to keep this about them, and they just need to understand. You got a 1-game sample size of Ben as a new play caller. Is that enough to, they're going to do this, they're going to do that? No, it's not. So we're going in with a tight wound plan where these guys understand we have adjustments, we have certain things we're going to do, and it's about us and understanding that stuff and making sure as long as we go out and execute, not say, well, if you take out that play, we'd have played dominant. No, let's put in all the plays and play a dominant brand of football like I believe we're capable of doing as a defense.
There you go.
They're just offensive skill talent. Some young guys there, obviously. But
highly talented offense. You said talent-wise, right?
Yeah.
Highly talented. All over the place. My guy Swift, that's my guy. Make no mistakes about it. For 60 minutes Sunday, he won't be. But that is my guy, man. I have the utmost respect for these players. DJ Moore, Aduze, Cole Kmet. I mean, these are real guys in this league. Across the board. He's implemented things on the O-line to help them, and that showed up. So we know the task at hand. We're going to have a tight wound plan, and we're going to play Detroit brand 2025 defensive football, guys.
Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. 4 simple ingredients plus vitamins and minerals.
I'm full, y'all. I'm full after that. I'm ready to go to sleep. Shep just slayed him, man. I see the dates wrong in today's show, too. My bad. What is today? The 12th? Thank God it's not Friday the 13th. Yeah, I'm ready to go to bed after that one, man. Shep just filled my cup up. I love it. I love the spiciness. I'm glad that he's getting after. I'm glad that he's getting after the media. And to your point in the chat, that's why I'm saying that. Is where was it? Where was it? Ross says Shep is answering the questions on point. It's not the answers the media wants. They keep digging, and Shep is keeping his answers direct and simple while being accountable, and the media keeps digging. While they keep digging, they're going to keep digging themselves in a hole. I love it, man. That's what it's supposed to be about. I'm glad that we have somebody up there that has a ton of respect for the people around him, right? I'm sure he has a ton of respect for, the guys in front of him, or the ladies in front of him. But at the same time, don't don't take Shep's kindness for weakness, man. He's going to tell you like it is. There is a lot to take out of this. At the end of the day, the defense did play a good brand of football. It just wasn't enough. And like what he's saying, you never know when that day is going to be the last day, right? You might be playing, you might be paid, quite a bit of money, but you don't know. Look what happened after week 1, man. There were some players that got traded. There were some players that, like Tank Bigsby, just got traded. Didn't the Bears make a move too? I thought they made a move too. But if you're not playing to the caliber, and the level that your team wants you to play, your day might be over. Your time in Detroit might be over. Your time in the league could be over. You have to play to the level of what Shepard is expecting you to play. And it's all accountability. And he's not mincing words, right? And I think he made a very great point when he said, it's the players that are out on the field executing all of these things that we draw up. He's exactly right. Look, I could draw anything that I want on this board. If I don't execute my plan, it doesn't matter what the hell I put on the board. It's the same thing for these guys in a game, man. You can draw everything up in the week leading up to the game. If they don't go out there and execute the simple X's and O's, man, and sticking to your details and knowing what your assignment is, you could be the smartest coach in the room. You could be the smartest coach in the league. You could be the smartest coach ever to bless a sideline with your presence. But if your players cannot execute what you're asking them to do, you may never, ever rise to the level of Bill Belichick, who won a bunch of Super Bowls, right? Playing at the highest level. You may never get there. And that's simply because your players were not able to execute. But you have to put these players in a position to execute. And I'm sure that Shep is trying to do that. So there's some new things that he's doing this year where he's just simply saying, look, man, if you can't do it, we're going to find somebody that can. And I really like the take that he had on Terry and Arnold. No excuses. I think I said that in my breakdown of the whole thing the other day. We don't know when he was hurt. We really don't know at what point that he had an issue. But to his point, if you're hurt, get the hell out of the game. Don't play in the game and then after the game see, I had a groin issue. Nope. Forget that. Forget all that. Miss me with all of that. Either go in the game and play to the highest level that you can and accept the outcome, or get on the sideline and get some treatment. And when you're ready to go, you'll go. But you better hope that we don't find somebody in the meantime that's going to be able to play at a high level. Terry and Arnold has to figure out a way to stay on the field. And he has to figure out a way to play at a high level. We're expecting a lot from him. I don't know that Shep actually pulled him, Kevin. He could have. He absolutely could have. But what we do know is that he did leave the game with an injury, and they felt that they caught it at the right time. So, to your point, though, who knows? He probably had some choice words for the way that Terry and Arnold was playing. But the fact that Terry and Arnold's already playing this week and that he's going to play this week, I mean, hey, maybe your point has some validity. I don't know. I have no idea. What I do know is the tape was not good. There was some solid play, and then there was some huge breakdowns. All right? What these guys need to do is they need to settle in and be responsible for themselves. I am sick of this narrative stuff of this player needs more help, but no, Shep just told you. You are responsible for you. Hutch is responsible for Hutch. Davenport is responsible for Davenport. Tyleek, DJ, you're responsible for yourself. Every one of you 11 men on the field is responsible for you. Nobody else is excuse for the way that you play. And so if you've been living inside of that narrative in your head that Hutch can't play well because he doesn't have help is bullshit. He has 11 men on the field with him, 10 other men on the field with him, and he has at least 6 other elite football players on the field with him. And the one thing that I do know for a fact, and I went and did this after Aiden's big year, his final season at Michigan. Go back and look at why he didn't have an explosive year until that final year. When he was on a defense that was not loaded, I mean loaded, that final year defense, Hutch had 4- and 5-star athletes everywhere, at every position. That defense was one of the most loaded defenses I've ever seen from a college team. You're damn right he better have had a great season. But you go back and look at the seasons before that. When he didn't have a loaded team, he did not play well. And I'm telling you this because I've done the work. Now I can't show you the work, but I know I've done the work. I went and looked at, and I'm not attacking Hutch, I'm just giving you facts. I went and looked at every single offense that the U of M went up against that year. 80% of the offenses that they went up against that year were ranked in the bottom, like worse than 60th out of 130 FBS teams. There was, I think, 4 or 5 schools that were ranked on the offensive line somewhere between 100 and 130. He better have had a really good year that year when you're going up against extremely inferior offensive lines. The best offensive lines that he went up against that year, Michigan State and Ohio State. Ohio State, he registered 3 sacks, and I think against Michigan State, I think he had 2, if memory serves me correct. So he did play at a high level against OSU. He had a pretty good game against Michigan State. But where did the bulk of his energy, provide the sacks? Which games? Go look. And then go back and look at the end of the year rankings for all of those offensive lines. I think that you would be surprised. Aiden is a very good football player. And like Shep believes he is elite. But I also believe that Aiden does need a very good team around him. He's not a player that you can go put on the 30th ranked defense in the league and he'll play well. I don't think he's that kind of player. From what I've seen, he's not. He needs some good players around him. It's the exact opposite of what I just said 5 minutes ago, isn't it? Kinda. The difference is I'm not blaming another player for Aiden's mistakes. I'm not blaming another player for Davenport's mistakes. That is on them. What I'm drawing the comparison here to is you put a player in a situation to be able to win, Hutch is going to win. You put him in a situation where there's not enough around them to win, he's not going to win by himself. And neither will Davenport. It's just the nature of the game. But this defense has a ton of good football players. Branch and Kirby, you could say that they are 1A, 1B. This year starting out, you're probably going to say that they're both in the top 5 for safeties in the league. Jack Campbell was a top 10 linebacker. Alex Anzalone, there's certain aspects of his game that I would say that he's a top 20. But there's other aspects of his game that he was barely in the top 50. But overall, he's an effort player. His effort is top 5 in the league. Combined, he's a really good football player. He's not elite. Derek Barnes, he's a crapshoot. We have no idea what that player is. The Lions do. They know more. I have yet to really see it come up on tape. There's a couple of good games here or there that I've seen from Derek Barnes, but largely I feel like he is just an unknown commodity on this defense. Ali McNeil, clearly, was a top 10 defensive tackle last year. Levi Onwuzurike was a top 16 tackle last year for his pressure, his win rate, and everything else. Overall, probably not. We're missing those guys right now. We're missing an interior defensive tackle. Tyleik Williams is a rookie, man. He's going to take a hot minute to get ready. And when he starts really pushing it, you're going to see a different player. So I don't buy into the narratives, man. That's why I study stats. It's why I look at every game from every opportunity of levels. There's different levels to all of this, and part of it's the stats and understanding what they're doing from a schematic standpoint. It's a whole nother, and combining everything and then matching it up to the film it's a whole nother thing too. And that's why Shep said the same thing, man. He gave you some stats and he said, go watch the film. Go look at what these guys are doing. So there's some great things they did this weekend. There's not some great things they did this weekend. Hopefully this weekend that they can tie it all together. And they can get out there and jump the Bears. Yeah, Snoopy, I don't know about that, buddy. Saying that TA only had the groin issue on the play that he got dunked on. Yeah, I don't know about all that. Like Jack says, that's a pretty fast recovery for a groin injury. I would agree there. See, man, you're getting it. To someone else that said maybe he was pulled. I think Kevin Barr said that. Could have been. It is a really fast recovery for a groin problem. I can tell you right now, my groin problem has never gone away. Ever. I've had surgeries to it. It's never gone away. So I don't know how you can just get over a groin issue in a couple of days. I mean, there's a giant muscle right there, a giant ligament too. That takes a lot of work to be able to get over something like that quick. Man, Shep just got me all sorts of fired up. I'm really hoping that they pull it all together this weekend. They have to, man. This is a must-win game. You cannot lose this game. You go down 0-2. What's the stat? 15% or less teams that go down 0-2 make the playoffs. I think it's a little early to pass judgment on a team for making the playoffs in the first week. You could definitely go down 0-2 and still make it, right? You can go on a 6-2 run, and you're right back in it. You're right back at the top of the league. The problem is the division, right? That's the problem. You need to win the division. I don't care how many overall wins they have, as long as they win the frickin' division. That's the most important stat line of the day. Every week, you have to get ahead of this division. And right now, you're down a game. You're down 2 games. The Packers are up 2-0. Right now, we have to beat Washington. We have to beat the Packers the second game. We cannot lose to the Vikings or the Bears at all, period. That's what the Lions are up against. If they do lose this weekend, which I'm not expecting to happen, I think the deck is stacked then against them. I don't think it's going to be easy for the Lions to come back out of that hole. I do agree with that. The House of Hutch merchandise just dropped like 40 seconds ago. There's the House of Hutch exclusive merchandise collab is going on now with Lion Supply inside Ford Field. I'm going to have to check that out today. Huge game following this up with Baltimore on a Monday night game, man. That is a gauntlet of a schedule to have to run the first 3 weeks. And I'll be honest, man, the Browns are not going to make it any easier on us. They hung tight with the Bengals, and I think their defense can be can be a thorn big time. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Take a look at my sheet, make sure I'm really not forgetting anything. Tomorrow morning, I will be doing a pregame show. It's going to be the final pregame show of the week. We're only going to be talking about Bears and Lions. And if you would like to call in, please make this change in your contact list. Make sure you add. It's at the top of the chat right now. The new number is 313 podcast, and that's 313-763-2278. Again, that's 313-763-2278. That is the new number for the show. Every show, not just the morning show. 313 podcast. I got pretty lucky getting that number. It's an easy one to remember. You know, I was looking. I want to look again here. I'll be taking phone calls tomorrow morning. A lot of tomorrow is going to be phone calls. When you go to your keypad, you should still, like on your phone, it still has all the numbers coordinated with the letters. And that's all you really need to remember. That's why I made the number that way. 313 podcast. Mailbag@rockdown.com. We need more emails. We need more gripes and hype. Don't be afraid, man. You guys ask questions in chat, but let's get them in before. Let's get them in before we do gripes and hype on Wednesday so that I have time to actually put together some good information for your questions. Don't be afraid. And then as far as texting too, you will be able to text. So I've got a whole separate phone for the podcast. And so you can text that number as well. You'll be able to text it. You'll be able to call it. And you'll also be able to email. We can do all those things live. It just transferred last night, so I do got to test it today to make sure everything's good to go, and we'll be back tomorrow morning. I'm not sure what's going to happen today. I might get on later on today. I might not. We'll see. Supposed to have somebody coming out to the house, so I've got to jump off now. And we'll be back later. Look, it's going to be a big game. It's not going to be an easy game. They know each other well. They know this defense. They know Ben Johnson's offense. And I love how Calvin Shepard, when he's asked, what is Ben Johnson good at? And he simply said everything. That's the answer to kind of not give you an answer, right? That's the answer to not give you an answer. Here to wrap today up, here's your 10 takeaways from John Morton, Shepard, and Phipp. According to Tim Twentyman, obviously Shepard felt pretty good overall about the defense. Or the defensive performance in Green Bay. After watching the tape multiple times, he lamented a few plays, particularly the 2-play, 65-yard touchdown on the third possession of the game. But overall, he wasn't disappointed by the 188 passing yards and 78 rushing yards. Look, if we can do that in every game, man, we should be winning every game. It is really odd that you put up those kind of numbers and you're not winning a game, which means John Morton didn't do enough on the other side of the football. And we didn't get any takeaways in the game, at least ones that counted. I think someone asked earlier, there was some question on the takeaway. Yeah, had that takeaway counted, I think it's a different game. Who started this rumor about Aiden Hutchinson looking to buy a house in Texas? Where did that come from? I don't think that really matters. I don't care where he buys a house. He could buy a house in every state for all I care. That really doesn't mean much. Morton says plans to put a little bit less on the plate of the players offensively. from a game plan perspective, so it would allow them to play a little bit faster. There were some things that Morton liked offensively against the Packers, but he admitted that there were also plenty of things to clean up. He said that no one is in panic mode. Even with some of the struggles that they had running the football or converting on third down or in the red zone. Morton simply said, quote, "It's been addressed, it's been fixed," end quote. Some of you noted in the chat today that there's a stark difference between Shepard and Morton, and it's a little bit hard to believe in Morton that he's actually fixing things because he's not amplified. He's not at the level that Shepard is. And I would say I wouldn't draw that same conclusion. Some people are just more calm, cool, reserved, collected. They don't get too far left. They don't get too far right. They kind of just stay right in the middle in their little happy place. They don't need to get all, real amplified. Matter of fact, I like the fact that our offensive coordinator has a little bit more of a reserved attitude. That tells me that in game, potentially he's able to stay a little bit cool, right? And if he's getting heated up in the press box or up in, the coach's box, and he's getting pissed off, that could sway his decisions on calling a good game. So I think having a good, cool, calm, collected demeanor, I think that's good. It doesn't mean that he's not a fiery guy. It doesn't mean that, he's not trying to light a fire underneath his players. I'm sure that he is, but in front of the media, in front of, the fans, he's obviously a different style of player or a different style of a coach. Phipp said that he was obviously disappointed with his unit's performance at Green Bay, particularly in punting operation. He said that Jack Fox and the unit were number one in the NFL last year in net punting average at 46.2 yards per punt. The Green Bay returned 3 punts for 32 yards as Fox finished the game with a 36.7 net punting average. Phipp expects a bounce-back week this week against the Bears. It is quite concerning that the Lions have spent so many resources and assets on finding guys that are good in special teams and bringing in these special teams aces, and it's not translating in week one. I don't have an answer for that. I hope they do. I don't really know what happened. Where were the breakdowns on special teams? Special teams is not my forte. It is not something that I pay a ton of attention to outside of the the normal things that I would pay attention to, like net punting average. But the fact that they were able to return 3 balls for pretty good amount of yards, that tells me that there's some breakdown, on getting downfield. Our gunners not doing their job. The fourth thing here, the Lions were credited by Pro Football Reference with blitzing Love 8 times and did not generate any sacks off of it. According to Shepard, got to be better. You get your number called, you've got to be better. Point blank, period. That's also been addressed. The fifth thing, one of the things that the Detroit is really cognizant of heading into the matchup with Chicago is some of the blitz packages that the Bears defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, creates on third down. He goes back to being good with their communication on Sunday and limiting the missed assignments. They know each other. This should be a stalemate type of a game, and if it is, don't be surprised. This could be a low-scoring affair. It could be a boat race. We'll see. We'll see which teams show up. The sixth thing is Detroit special teams could get a boost this week with Sione Vaki returning to practice and trending towards playing on Sunday. Look, he's been really good, obviously getting downfield. He's been a big part of this special teams unit last year, and he's played really good this season. So getting Sione Vaki back is huge. You also brought in Monty Rice, and Monty Rice is a special teams ace. So again, the Lions went out immediately to not only bring in another linebacker. I want to say that Jack Campbell was battling some sort of an injury this week. So to have that guy in a backup role, but I think he's on the practice squad right now. Doubtful that he's going to get elevated for this week unless somebody like Sione Vaki can't go. Seventh thing here is the Lions did a really nice job at limiting the Packers on the ground, 3.1 average. And if you take away that explosive of 15 yards, it was 2.6 yards. Shepard knows that they've got to be more cognizant of that this week. It's more important when you're facing Caleb Williams and also DeAndre Swift. Both those guys, especially Caleb Williams, who made a ton of plays out of the pocket Monday night against Minnesota and was able to extend plays outside of the pocket. That's where the Lions need to keep him bottled up. And that's where I expect to see a little bit more containment from this Lions defensive front as opposed to blitzing. But we'll see. Shepard is clearly shown that he loves to be aggressive. The eighth thing is Morton expects Taylor Decker to play on Sunday despite missing some practice time this week with a shoulder injury, the same shoulder that he had repaired in the offseason. One thing that FIP would like to see a big improvement on this week from week 1 to week 2 is the players on special teams getting off of blocks in space. This was another part of the tape that he said he was disappointed in from this past Sunday. His quote was, "I say this league comes down to two things. It comes down to if you've got a double team, you've got to dominate it. If you've got a single, you've got to win the one-on-ones in this league, in this business." And the last thing here is Calvin Shepard did not appreciate cornerback Terrion Arnold continuing to play through a groin injury that Arnold said after the game he suffered in the second series. Quote, "If you're injured, come out of the game. We're not making excuses. No. We're not making any excuses." Clearly, Shepard is not happy that Terrion Arnold did not do the right thing. If you're injured, get the hell out. After the game, you better not open your mouth and say, well, I was banged up. Not happening. Love had 124.3 passer rating when targeting Arnold. And Shepard pointed out that the touchdown was on the same route that Arnold got beat on in San Francisco last year. He said that Arnold needs to do a better job learning from his previous mistakes. And hopefully he does this weekend. All good things by your Detroit Lions coaches this week. Let's just hope they can get it figured out. Let's see here. Okay. I think that's it. Is there anything else you guys want to cover before I get out of here? If not, don't forget next week. We should be back to normal. Eric, I think we'll be back on Tuesday, as he's traveling back from Denver to make the game. I'm sure I'll see him at the game, and then it's possible maybe we'll do something after the game real quick. I'm not real sure, but either way, if Riley's not able to do the post game, then I'll do the post game when I get back. It's doubtful that I'm going to do it on the way home. It's never a good post game unless I'm right here. You know what I mean? Like it's hard for me to do it on the road unless I'm not staying in a hotel. I'm coming home after the game. So don't forget next week. It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
Every time I come back, my mic is muted. I did that 4 times today. What I was saying is that's it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. And don't forget that if you would like to write for the Detroit Football Journal, to send me an email. I'd love to get you guys writing. If you want to write some op-eds, you do not need previous journalist experience. All you do is submit what it is that you want to put up that week, and then I will edit it and put it up on the channel. Or on the page, excuse me. If you would like to come on as a guest or be a host or co-host for any of the content throughout the week, again, email me at mailbag@rockdown.com. We're always looking for additional and new talent, especially since we are joining, or partnering with the Believe in Network. It would be great to have more people involved. If you know how to do audio or video editing and you'd like to contribute to the channel, absolutely get a hold of me. And let's have a conversation. So I can add, this week I do have to add some more things to the raffles. We should have some raffles closing. And tomorrow, I think we're going to have at least one that we're doing tomorrow. I will add Tesla to the jersey raffles tonight. So take a look at that. Don't forget, buy me a coffee /RockDon. Tons of jersey raffles up, giveaways. We'll have some giveaways tomorrow. So make sure that you tell a friend. And the Lions flag thing that they got going on, all these flags that you can buy at Meijer, those are the ones that I gave out early. We're going to give away some more tomorrow. And let's get back at it, man. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.
Pressured by